So according to a Pew Poll taken last month, trust in the government has taken a nosedive. According to this poll, just 19% of people say that they trust the government in Washington to do what is right, about always or most of the time. Now, little caveat, this was taken during the shutdown, where everybody was pissed at the government. So,
except me.
Caveat, keep that in mind. Now, 30% of people say they're flat out angry at the government. 30%. 55% say they're frustrated, and just 12% say that they're basically content. Now, for those 12% of people, are you paying attention?
Do you work for the government?
Are you paying attention?
I mean,
and like I said, I'm a liberal progressive. I believe government can do good things, but if you're not mad, you're not paying attention, because there are a lot of things going wrong right now. But anyway, I just want to ask what you think about this already, and why do you think people are angry?
Well, I mean, people should be angry, but it's actually like music to my ears that more and more people are rejecting the idea that government can solve your problems and that they're angry at the government. But I'm more interested in what they're gonna do, because we know we've seen what they did in 2006. They were angry at the Republicans, so they put in the Democrats. In 2008, they were angry at the Republicans more, so they put in more Democrats. In 2010, they're like, Democrats not so much fun, so they put in Republicans. So are we gonna have another wave election because of this? Or I just want to know what's gonna change.
I would actually hope, instead of just replacing one bunch of corporate whores with another set of corporate whores, that we actually do something. Now, Occupy was a good example of people actually expressing their anger at the right people.
Right.
But you saw what happened. They got crushed by Ray Kelly and the NYPDs.
Yeah, and all over. It was a coordinated effort by Janet Napolitano and the mayors of Oakland, New York.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. But the problem I had with Occupy was they didn't This is gonna sound bad because I'm on a liberal station, but they didn't do anything. They hung out in a park for a while. They raised issues.
No, they changed the conversation.
Yeah,
that was sort of the point. They changed the conversation, because before, the entire conversation in Washington was all about debts and deficits, right? Which are important. Right. I'll give you that. They are important, but nobody was addressing the income inequality before that. It was just small liberal stations like us and the Young Turks that were bringing that issue up. No, but now that sparked a national conversation. So I think Occupy, in that regard, was a success.
No, I understand that, right? And this is my point is they in the beginning, when they showed up to the park and they were occupying, right? That makes sense, right? Because if you stay there long enough, eventually the media will have to cover you, right? So that made sense. So, but once the media covered them, they didn't run candidates. They didn't do anything in that regard.
Why would you want to run candidates in a system that you were fundamentally angry with, opposed to?
Look, I'm angry, and I still want to primary the thing is that people always compare the Tea Party and Occupy, and I don't, and I like and dislike the comparisons for two different reasons. One, obviously the Tea Party ended up getting a lot of corporate money, right?
Yes.
But in some respects, they did a better job, actually being advocates. They ran candidates, and they didn't just run corporate candidates. They ran candidates at the local level. They primary people at the national level. They showed up with some crazy people, right? And
a lot of crazy people. More crazy than not crazy, I would say.
But my point is, they showed up with some crazy people. They ran candidates. It was weird because they lost seats that they should have won, like the Delaware Senate seat, but they also won primaries that they never should have won. And they won elections that they never should have won. It's just Like I would have loved for Occupy to rally around a person, but the problem is that
The problem is that the system fundamentally is corporatized, right? And that's the whole reason. That's the whole thing that they were fighting against. Is we've got this corporate system in here that is not working for the people. Why are we going to perpetuate the system? Well, here's the funny thing. Here's something really, really interesting. Now, even though people were really mad at government, people actually view many of the departments in the government pretty favorably. I'm going to run down a list. 75% of people think see the CDC, Center for Disease Control, in a favorable light. 73% NASA. 72%, oddly, and I disagree with this, the Defense Department.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll disagree with that one. I'm unfavorable to the Defense Department because it's overbloated and all those other different reasons. But 65% of people view the FDA favorably. Okay. 62% favor the EPA. They view the EPA favorably. So, I mean, it's not the different government agencies that they're mad at. It's government. But most surprisingly to me, most surprisingly to me is the NSA. Do you know how many people hold a favorable view to the NSA?
80%.
54%.
Yes, I was wrong, but in the good way.
What is most unsurprising to me is the IRS. The IRS was the only unfavorable agency on this poll, coming in at 44% favorable, 51% unfavorable. Once again, no kidding, nobody likes the IRS.
Everybody hates the IRS. It's the worst. It's the worst thing ever.
At least 51% of people do not like the IRS.
Yeah, I mean,
are you surprised at any of these?
I'm actually not surprised. We hear stories like this all the time that the American people demand spending cuts. But do you want to cut SNAP? Do you want to cut the Defense Department? Do you want to cut any of these things? They're like, no. But cut foreign aid and like there's very few things. There's very few specifics that Americans are willing to cut. And the funny thing is that me and you probably see most of these departments as unfavorable right now. The FDA is basically run by Monsanto and Big Pharma. The EPA. I mean, the EPA
is understaffed, underfunded, and they can't do a good enough jobs because they don't have enough money and they don't have enough people to do it. So, but I like the fact that the EPA what they do. So yeah. I'm in favor of the EPA. I just think that they can't do their job good enough right now because they've been hobbled.
They're also misdirected. Like I mean, you see the stories that they're like of people that they're like destroying their lives of like because their land was wet at one time, so they considered it a wetland. Meanwhile, like you have oil companies spilling we did the story about the secret oil spill where they're spilling the tar sands oil and they don't care about that. Like so they're also misdirected, but like in general these ideas are great. Like who doesn't like food safety and drug safety? Who doesn't like the EPA? It's just
even though they're doing a poor job at what they're supposed to do because they've once again budget cutbacks and cutbacks in staffing. A lot of those spending cuts, oddly enough, by conservatives. So,
but I would have the Defense Department. Of course, people are going to be in favor of it
of defense. So you're protecting me from the terrorists.
Yeah, and it's the military, and it just has the word defense. If it was called what it used to be called. Department? No, what it used to be called was the Department of War, and people would be less in favor of it. They're like, are you in favor of war? No. Am I in favor of defense? Yes. Like
yeah, I get your point there.
So it's like it's the problem that we always run into is that you're in favor of this you're in favor of certain thing, you're in favor of a general concept, but when it gets into the nitty-gritty, most people are like, no, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. I'm glad the NSA is low down there.
Yeah, I'm glad too.
I'm ecstatic that the IRS is completely is always the IRS is always
unfavorable. Look, I'm not surprised. Right. Who at all is surprised that the IRS is obviously unfavorable? Of course.
Right.
That just makes sense. Nobody likes paying taxes, but I mean, for me, I would say that it's a necessary evil of living in society. You and I will disagree on that, but we can hash that out in another time, of course.
Certain types of taxes are like, I mean, you got to pay for stuff, right? You got to pay for your courts and all that.
You have to pay.
But there's no reason that the IRS should have the power that they have, with the massive tax code that they can selectively enforce on any random person the way that they do. So
we like I said, we can go on another day, but I want to finish this study up actually, and say that, I mean, I want to ask you, how do you think people think of, or I should say, what do you think people think about federal workers? Would you say that most people view federal workers, the people that work for the federal government, in a favorable light?
I think they're definitely going to find the individual workers favorable. The members of Congress, who are also federal workers, probably not. But
you know what? You are actually right. People have a favorable view of government workers. That's 62%. So, yeah, more people are favorable of government workers, except for Congress. In fact, more people blame members of Congress than the political system itself for what's going on today.
Which is actually wrong. It is the system. It doesn't matter who you throw in there. It actually is the system.
And I was just going to go into the point. I disagree with that because I think it is the system that's broken, and it allows shitty politicians to get elected because they have the money.
Now, it's wrong. It's wrong and it's right. It is their fault, but like, they're products of the system.
Right, and there are good members of Congress. I'm not going to throw them all under the bus. You've got Elizabeth Warren, and you've got Bernie Sanders. We've got people like that, good members of Congress, but they are in this shit system. And then we've got a lot of shit senators and congressmen that are all about money, money, money.
The majority of them.
Right. And like I said, sadly, you and we're in the minority. 32% of people say most members have good intentions, but the system is broken, and 58% say the opposite. And I don't think we even really fit into either of those brackets, because we think most politicians suck, and the system is also broken, and that is why our politicians suck.
Honestly,
at least on the national level.
So the question is, if politicians have good intentions in a broken system, or bad intentions and a good system?
Yeah, that's essentially the choices that they were given.
Yeah, those two choices are both nonsense.
We don't agree with that here on TYT Community. We think that
I think they justify a lot of it to themselves, right?
That could be.
Like, I remember I was thinking about Rick Santorum, which is not something I like to do often. This was back in the primary, and I remember.
Nobody wants to think about that froth.
And Rick Santorum he was a corporatist, like, straight up, and he got paid when he left the Senate. But like, Rick Santorum also has a young daughter with special needs, right? Mm-hmm. So I think to him, he justifies it as taking care of his family, in particular, like, that daughter, right? So, like, they all justify it, but they have bad intentions, like, or most of them justify it. Like, I don't think Geithner even cares. Like,
and like I said, I'm unwilling to throw every congressman under the bus, because
the majority.
I would say, I would say the majority. Somebody like John Boehner, come on. Right. Come on, that's the guy that's collecting tobacco checks and handing them out on the floor. You think that guy has good intentions? Fuck no.
There are people on both sides with honest or mostly honest or good intentions. What's his name? Walter, because I don't want to keep using the same analogy. Walter Jones was the Freedom Fries guy, right? So he was like the dumbest. People thought of him as the dumbest congressman there was. But Walter Jones.
That's Louis Gohmert.
I know, but back then, Walter Jones that was back when Louis Gohmert was a judge, unfortunately, in this country.
God. Yeah.
But Walter Jones is now one of the biggest advocates for bringing our troops home after he saw what was happening to the troops that came home from his district, right? So, like, he had good intentions. He just felt like he was just wrong on the war, and he was willing to admit that he was wrong, and that's one of the reasons I respect him now.
Well, that takes some character to admit that you're wrong.
Right. And he's a Bible thumper and everything, but I just think that like that guy would have good intentions, even though I disagree with him on some stuff.
We don't agree with either of them. We think most of them, or a good chunk of them, don't have the right intentions. Maybe many of them started off with the right intentions, but you know how people can get corrupted by the money, by the Washington bubble, essentially, that a lot of these congressmen live in. So there's that. And like I said, the political system is broken. We've got this huge problem of money in politics and corruption, and we have a Supreme Court that says that, oh, that's okay.
And there are actually great examples of people who like had good intentions but ended up bad. So it's not that they all start out bad or they all start out corrupt. It's a lot of them are products of the system. But I think eventually they realize that they're doing the wrong thing.
And that's really why I think we have to change the system. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Please leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and share with your friends. If you want to see more, go to our channel at youtube.com/TYTNation. And if you really want to support the show, support this channel, go to our fundraising campaign at www.patreon.com/TYTNation. The website is in the description below. Thank you guys, and keep watching.